That's the ringing of a call to the Ku Klux Klan. In just a few seconds, I'd be talking with the national director of the KKK. I had entered this situation with the familiar images of white robes, white hats, white masks, and burning crosses. After about a minute of tone dial, I almost gave up.
This is National Office, how can I help you out?
The second rise of the Ku Klux Klan was based on Christianity, specifically Protestantism, specifically anti-Catholicism and anti-Semitism. Henry Fry, a former Klansman, wrote in 1922 in his book The Modern Ku Klux Klan, quote, "Membership is restricted to a limited class of American citizens, including only white, Gentile, American-born Protestants, all other Americans being ineligible." Furthermore, in his letter of resignation from the Klan, he wrote, quote, "that it is engaged in an evil propaganda in promoting unwarranted religious and racial hatred against Jews, Roman Catholics, Negroes, and foreign-born American citizens, that your entire scheme is a dangerous public menace that will inevitably lead to bloodshed." Knowing this, it begs the question, where was the church during this second wave of the Ku Klux Klan? You would think that such a violent and oppressive organization using Protestantism to justify its means would certainly draw the attention of church leaders. Moreover, how does this modern 21st century Ku Klux Klan use Christianity to justify its standings? Is it just as religiously restrictive and discriminatory as it was in the early 20th century? That's what I was hoping to find out from the KKK's national director.
The fiery cross we display, the emblem of Klansman's domain. We will be forever true to the red, white, and blue, and Americans always remain.
Before I spoke with the KKK's national director, I had the fortune of finding two of the Klan's websites. Unfortunately, and I mean this in terms of research and documentation, one of the websites is now suspended. Luckily, before it was suspended, I got the chance to make note of their radio show that happens every Monday at 7 p.m., and I took down the number for their hotline. Here's what the hotline had to say.
Greetings, you have reached the loyal white knights of the Ku Klux Klan, the most active Klan in America. You're white and proud, join the crowd, visit our website at www.lwkkkkk.com. Always remember, if it ain't white, it ain't right. White power.
The radio show provided similar notable quotes, such as, "The blacks hate the whites hate the blacks, I think everybody hates the Mexicans, I hate the Jews." When one listener spoke up in opposition to the Klansmen's views of supreme and chosen races, she was accused by the Klansmen of having dropped out of high school, conceived a child out of wedlock, and lost track of the father, to which she retorted, "Yeah, you're the father." To my shock, one Klansman responded, "I don't believe in sleeping with animals."
The fiery cross we display, the emblem of Klansman's domain. We will be forever true to the red, white, and blue, and Americans always remain. So I'll cherish the bright, fiery cross, till from duties at last I lay down. Then burn o'er me a bright, fiery cross, the day I am laid in the ground.
The other website, which is still available, has pasted at the top a song to listen to as readers peruse the website. Set to the tune of the hymn The Old Rugged Cross, this song, called The Old Fiery Cross, hails the fiery cross of the Ku Klux Klan, with lyrics such as, "Oh, the bright fiery cross, so despised by a few, has a wondrous attraction for me. When it calls me some day to my home far away, may a bright fiery cross beam for me." The original hymn describes the cross upon which Jesus, the central figure of Christianity, died. For a better understanding of this obvious sacrilege, here's what the original lyrics were. On a hill far away stood an old rugged cross, the emblem of suffering and shame. And I love that old cross, where the dearest and best for a world of lost sinners was slain. This paints a clear enough picture of how the 21st century KKK uses Christianity and its beliefs. It's manipulated and twisted to cater to this white supremacy, with no signs of guilt or shame to be seen. These religious beliefs all seemed straightforward, until I spoke with the national director of the Klan. From the first question I asked, I realized two very different clans were active in America today. After making introductions, I jumped right in with the main question. I asked specifically, "What can you tell me about the relationship of Protestantism and Christianity to the beliefs of the modern KKK?" The national director's response was very different from what I expected it would be.
Well, that's a big question. To begin with, the Klan doesn't take any position on religion at all, other than the fact that we ask people to be professing Christians, but we don't give religious tests as to what their beliefs are, whether it be Baptist, Lutheran, or Catholic, or Methodist, or whatever. So we don't give any religious tests to people. So we just simply request people to be professing Christians.
He says, "The Klan doesn't take any position on religion at all. We just simply request people to be professing Christians." Already I was astounded by the stark contrast of this leader to the Klansman on the radio show. Dare I say he seemed reasonable? A clear difference is seen here from the KKK during the 20th century as well. While that Klan movement rejected and attacked Catholicism, this one has no problem with it. Even more curious was his response when asked about how the Klan viewed equality in terms of the Bible.
Certainly, I don't know of anybody in the Klan that would say that. There may be some people out there like that. Obviously, most papers are not universal, but I think most people that I know in the Klan, or the white nationalist movement, or the white system, they believe that the law should be universally applied to everybody, white or black. And we're not asking. White people don't ask. The Klan don't ask for special favors, special treatment. We don't ask for that we get quotas. Blacks so often quotas for hiring jobs and so forth. Favoritism for Black History Month or months of color, for people. Seems odd.
If you didn't catch what he said, it was, most people that I know of in the Klan, they believe that the law should be universally applied to everybody, white or black. As the conversation progressed, my views of the Klan were incredibly challenged. The Klan he described was vastly different from what I had known it to be. It was beginning to change from a racist, white supremacist group to a group dedicated to maintaining white history and white culture. The two following clips really stood out to me. First, he said,
I don't care who's supreme. It makes it a little different to me. We still have a right to love our heritage and culture without somebody demonizing us. And yet, whatever white people try to speak about their racial pride or ethnic pride, they're demonized as being hateful people.
I tried to redirect the conversation back to the religion of the modern Ku Klux Klan by asking him what he thought of the church's response to the racism and segregation during the time of Martin Luther King Jr. Specifically, I quoted from MLK Jr.'s letter from a Birmingham jail when he said, quote, "I have been disappointed with the church, and I've heard numerous Southern religious leaders admonish their worshipers to comply with the desegregation decision because it is the law. But I have longed to hear white ministers declare, 'Follow this decree because integration is morally right and because the Negro is your brother.'" This is what that conversation sounded like. So let me just interrupt you for a second. I'm sorry, and just redirect you back to my initial question, which is, what do you think the Klan would have to say about the way that the church handled this segregationism and this racism? Like I have here.
They handled it horribly because they caved in. They caved in. They should have maintained the separation. So when they caved in, yeah, they handled it horribly.
So you're saying the church handled it horribly. The church handled it horribly.
They handled it horribly when they begin to embrace the Martin Luther King and his area of the
Well, I think you're misunderstanding my question.
No, I understand it because.
To clarify, he believed that the church handled the racism and segregation during MLK Jr.'s time horribly, not because the church didn't do anything to stand against this racism, but because the church complied with the law and practiced integration. He maintained that the people did not want to integrate, so being forced by law was not the right move on the part of the government, and the church shouldn't have integrated. Shortly after this, our conversation ended. I was left with two very conflicting understandings of the modern Ku Klux Klan. Sure, he explained, with every organization there will be radicals to either side, and those who claim white supremacy and white power are just the extremists of the KKK. The true Ku Klux Klan really stood for the preservation of white culture and white history, and the celebration of those things. Thomas J. Ward addresses this modern Ku Klux Klan and its use of religion in a journal article titled The Shared Trajectories of Al-Qaeda and the Ku Klux Klan. He writes, "Even today, the remnants of the Ku Klux Klan connect the system to Christianity. We, the Ku Klux Klan, reverently acknowledge the majesty and supremacy of Jesus Christ and recognize his goodness and divine providence. Furthermore, we recognize our relationship to him as sons and daughters of the living God. We recognize America as the regathering place of his people, and before him we humbly bow and give thanks. We stand upright and lift our faces to God our Father, recognizing that this nation was founded as a white nation upon his purpose recorded in Holy Writ, and to these principles we submit ourselves." This is the creed of the Ku Klux Klan. Ward goes on to explain that religion is not the real true purpose of the Klan, but rather maintaining racial purity and privilege. He also writes the aspirations of the Klan were to return to the glory days. This is the sort of impression I got from speaking with the national director. He frequently mentioned how it used to be and why America shouldn't have changed with integration. What still doesn't make sense, however, is that even Thomas J. Ward writes of this modern racially motivated Klan that everyone is familiar with, but the national director I spoke with doesn't quite give that impression. In fact, he even said it doesn't matter to him what race is supreme. Which end of the spectrum holds the truth of the beliefs of the KKK? Is it even either one of these groups that I've encountered? And how does all of this fit in with the 20th century historical context of the KKK, which was undoubtedly a movement of religious superiority and white supremacy? I didn't quite get clear answers to my initial questions, how Protestantism justifies white supremacy and where the church was during the second wave of the Ku Klux Klan in the early 1900s. But I learned the questions were deeper than that. According to the national director, the Klan is not even about white supremacy or religious superiority. In contrast to this, however, the Klansmen from the radio show and the hotline wholeheartedly believe in white supremacy and religious superiority. It raises questions of the church's true intentions with integration in the past and still deepens the question of why the church had not intervened in the racism. But those questions are ones for another time.